I've requested a package from Italian-based Acelith Sim Racing, famed makers of accessories for a bunch of systems, but most notably, in my opinion, for the Logitech G series wheels. All of the contents in this box are made for Logitech wheels or their drivers. We're off to a flying start. I didn't expect such a swish box, just look at it, very fancy. Inside the box I've got some Acelith slim gloves in a very reddish red, a magnetic shifter mod for a more distinct shifter paddle feel, an Acelith sticker package for the wheelbase to stylize the base casing, and finally an F27 formula style wheel rim with a pre-installed RB sticker face. You can choose from a number of stickers that mimic the F1 teams of today, but let's face it, RB is the most obvious choice. That's going to more than double my aggressiveness on track. By the time all of this is put into action, I'd imagine my G923 is going to look pretty proud of itself. Let's get into it. Acelith provided these items free for review upon my request to make this video possible. I've been looking to do something on them for ages, and I picked the product scene personally. Should you go on to order from Acelith, using code DannyLee knocks off €3 at checkout. I know it ain't loads, but it's better than a slap. More details can be found in the description. One thing to bear in mind that affects UK customers only, the minimum order amount if you're in the UK is €150. As Brexit changed the rules of sending products over our borders, Acelith opted not to adapt to that and don't seem to be looking to do so anytime soon, but this could change. Please check the description for specific advice about that before you order and for any updates. All prices mentioned exclude taxes. Anyway, on we go. First, we definitely got to look at the big one, the F27 wheel. This is listed for 63 quid on the site. It's very well made and finished, as you can see. The kit includes the wheel, some stickers, a spacer hub and some 3D printed button conversions for the L2, L3, R2 and R3 buttons. It's 27 centimeters wide, a teeny bit smaller than the standard G29 or G923 wheel and so on that you're replacing. The hand grips are hard plastic but are coated with STP, soft touch plastic, which is a form of coating that kind of fools your hands into thinking you're touching a rubber surface. Make no mistake though, it's a solid grip with no squish or give. Not exactly a luxurious feeling, but much better than bare plastic. The RB skin on the wheel is optional and was my choice among a variety of options. It's very nicely printed and installed from factory at Acelith. You don't have to install it yourself and wrestle with lining up the sticker to the wheel. Installing it is a fairly simple process by following Acelith's video guide on YouTube, but it will still take you about an hour to complete because you're essentially converting the existing Logitech wheel hub to one which can accept the Acelith wheel. So you do have to take the hub apart a bit, but you only need to do this once. If you have multiple Acelith wheels, then swapping between them is an easy 5-minute job thanks to that conversion. All reversible, of course. It's also necessary to send your Allen key flying multiple times during this process. And here it is, fully installed. It appears well made to a high standard. For 63 quid, it's a pretty transformative change. Feels nice to use. I much prefer Formula and GT style wheels over round wheels, given I'm all about circuit racing. That works for me. Open top wheels such as this seem much less in the way to me, and as a result I feel more in tune with my hands and arms. And although Acelith do have a few styles, I felt the F27 sits in between Formula and GT, so can cover both. I've used it with and without gloves. With gloves, some of those buttons can be a little tricky to feel given they're more recessed and set back than normal due to that necessary spacer you saw earlier. Without gloves, there's no issues. The F27 wheel weighs 615 gram compared to the original wheel's 468 grams, so there is a weight increase here, but as it's mostly towards the centre, it doesn't seem to affect the force feedback. I couldn't feel any dulling or rounding of it anyway. There is one optional extra for this wheel, an upper hub cover. Purely cosmetic, but for £10 it's just about cheap enough to give it a second thought. All it does is kinda give the wheel a beefier appearance from certain angles and helps cover the original Logitech hub from view. Up to you whether that seems worth it. Overall, the wheel seems fairly priced at 63 quid, it's well made and finished, though it stops short of being luxury because of those hard grips. Luckily, Logitech wheels aren't that strong, so it shouldn't be uncomfortable, and I guess gloves can help with that if you disagree. It's not complicated to install, but you'll need to set aside an hour for it. The range of skins to choose from at no added cost makes all the difference here. With those factored in, I'd say this is a worthwhile mod, especially if you're a fan of a particular F1 team. Next up, the magnetic shifter paddle conversion. This is listed for £16 on the site. The idea behind this is to add a magnetic pop to your shifters and make them feel more positive and binary in how they activate. This mod doesn't require you to dismantle your wheel in any way. You can install it completely externally and even without taking it off whatever you've got it mounted to. That's nice. However, don't think that means it's super easy to install. The nuts and bolts that clamp the ring halves in place are tiny, so be ready for a bit of fiddly micromanagement as you get them in place to tighten them up. It's the only real annoyance to be found with it, and Acelith seems to be aware of that, so they include a spare nut and bolt, almost expecting you to lose one. With the magnets in place, the paddles do indeed feel completely different, much firmer with a much more distinctive and serious on-off activation. So if you're looking for that, then this mod does exactly what it says on the tin. You shift up and down hundreds, thousands of times per session, so for 16 quid, this is definitely worthwhile to enhance that. Next is the sticker kit for the base. This is what comes of messing with football stickers as kids. We grow up with a burning need to stick. This base skin is listed for £16 on the site. There's only this variant at present, so if you don't like red and grey, then tough. Application is pretty simple and satisfying to do. You'll only need to set aside about 15 minutes and nothing needs dismantling, just apply on top. The stickers can be peeled off and reapplied, so if you get things wrong you can just go again until it's right. Given the Logitech wheel casing is pretty complex and curved, the stickers are simple enough for mere mortals to apply and smooth out. You don't have to be a rap god to get it right. Although I'm usually the sort to leave it stock, it looks better in person than it does on photos, much more understated and soft than it looks on screen. It's very fairly priced, so I'm hoping they turn their hand to expanding the range of designs. If they do that, then I think they'll be onto something. If you like this design and you're sick of the stock casing, this is definitely a worthwhile mod for the price. And finally, the gloves. Most sim gloves are in essence just soft shell cycling gloves with a relevant design. They only have to be lightweight, grippy and breathable to work, and these are. They're listed for 16 quid, but are reduced to about a tenner if bought with a wheel, 40% off. That's pretty cheap. They're well printed and bright, there's no argument with that. The sizing chart on the site is bang on the money, so do take a minute to measure your hands to get your correct size. It's worth it to get a good fit. As lively as they are, gloves do make it more difficult to use the buttons on your Logitech wheel, even with a good fit, so consider that before buying. Personally, I think gloves is overdoing it a bit with a Logitech series wheel. Keeping grip of a wheel is not really one of the challenges you'll face. But I, more than anyone, understand that because you like it is as strong a reason to buy something as any other practical, sensible reason. If you enjoy punctuating the start and end of your racing sessions with the donning of gloves, if it makes you even slightly more excited to get into a race, then practical arguments just don't matter. That's the only reason you need. For Logitech people, this accessory is definitely one that you can happily live without, but considering they come in at under a tenner when paired with a wheel, you might just want to have them handy. The existence of these gloves in Acelith's range makes more sense when you take them into context. Acelith isn't just about Logitech, they also do Thrustmaster, Fanatec, Simagic, Moser, Camus, all of which tend to be stronger wheels where gloves make more of a practical difference. So there we are, my first contact with Acelith sim racing products with a nice little spread of accessories. Generally speaking, I had a great first impression thanks to the snazzy box stuffed with goodies, but Acelith have been going for a while and had time to polish the presentation as well as move into new areas beyond what's seen here. The practical and cosmetic effect of each of the accessories was pretty clear and nothing seems scrappy or unrefined. I'm not a fan of 3D printed parts, but they only really play a small part in all of this, and it probably keeps costs down at this scale. I calculate that the total cost of all the accessories I received inside this box would have been €115 before taxes and shipping. If you were paying attention earlier, then you'll realise that's under the €150 threshold to place an order to the UK, so I'd have to add more items to reach that number. I don't expect that to change for a while, unfortunately. For how well made the accessories are and how much they transformed the look and feel of my G923, that feels like good value to me. If you know you're going to be on your Logitech for a while, then this could give it a nice fresh take and makes a pretty decent gift for someone else who is in that boat. I choose who and what I make videos about based on whether they're worth knowing. Most of the time my hunch is right and I'm usually glad I spent my time on them. That applies here. I respect Acelith for taking their role as third-party enhancers seriously and doing it pretty well for a reasonable cost. I hope that was a nice little watch. Remember to check the description for more details and links, especially if you're ordering from the UK. There'll be advice down there that you need to read. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and cheers again.